A simple house with a yard or a lavish penthouse apartment on the top floor? A reliable sedan or a luxury SUV? Vacation at a local hotel or in Dubai? There are different ideas about what wealth looks like, but we more often than not only see one perspective: extreme, high end, big money, global luxury consumption. And as it seeps into our subconscious, do we even remember what it's all for? Do young adults, especially young men, consider if it's even what you really want? In this episode, we want to clarify what it means to be wealthy and help you determine your goals for arriving there. Hello, my name is Trisha Lee, and I'm your guide through Big People Things, a show about how to be a successful adult. Each week, we release a new episode, so like a lot, subscribe now, share everywhere, and send us your questions so we can get you some adulting help. Our guests today are Jermaine and Renate McDonald, the visionary entrepreneurs behind Learn, Grow, Invest Limited. As co founders, they have been teaching and helping people learn how to invest since 2017. By profession, Jermaine is a technical trainer and Renee is a project manager. Jermaine also helped us out a whole lot by hosting our Big Man Things episode, which you can check out on our channel. They have been married for 13 years and have a son. Their goal is to help others fulfill their purpose and see lives transformed through achieving and building generational wealth. Welcome to the show, Jermaine and Renee.
Thank you so much, Trish.
So good to see you guys. I've been hoping to have you on for a good long while because one of the main reasons this show even started was young people were like, "Banana money, banana money. I'm gonna get some money." So
the big people saying it too, so it's
yeah. Yes, it is a big topic. So I want to start by you guys defining for us what you think true wealth is and what you think is the purpose of material wealth.
So I'll start. Thanks. So I'll start. In terms of what wealth is, I think it looks different for different persons, and the challenge that we have is that oftentimes we expect it to look the same for everybody. Wealth really means being in a position where you are able to live freely, where you're not burdened and bogged down. You're able to live and give and be free in what you're doing, like actually enjoy your life. That is, for me anyway, true wealth. And the purpose of material wealth is really to be able to, one, pass down for generations, two, to help those around you, build community, build up the people around you, because it's not just about you, the individual, but about the collective, right? And also, of course, to have stability in your life. So I think for me, those are the three main things in terms of material wealth.
So I'd say wealth comes down to two things for me. Wealth brings options and it looks like abundance. So a very simple example for me is that if through the course of, let's say, 3 months, you wear 4 pair of shoes, but you have 20, that could be a sign in a very simple way of wealth. Just having more than enough than you could reasonably need. Now, when I say like that, I kind of see a person saying, so if I have a lot of shoes, does that mean I'm wealthy? In one sense, it could actually mean that you are. Because usually there are things that, especially as men, that we value, like watches, like technology. If we have the opportunity to have increasing options for the things that we love or the things that we value, then that's a sign of wealth, right? So in terms of the purpose of it, I think that we use wealth in a way that shows what we value, right? So let's say that I value relationships, then I may choose to lavish the persons who are important to me with gifts that are valuable to me as well, because sometimes we tend to give what we value. So if I like watches, I'm gifting persons watches maybe, or if I'm big on outreach, I'm starting foundations or I'm giving back. So things of that nature we are able to do with material wealth. It allows us to see where our heart is. So whatever you do with that abundance shows what you really feel and what you really value.
So true. Starting with how Renee defined wealth, I'd want to look back at just having that abundance for what you need and to be able to give to others. So that then could look like one of our parents' generation. One of my aunts, for instance, is able to, she lives a very simple life, but has worked hard all these years, has saved her money, lives abroad, and she's able to travel very frequently back to Jamaica, which she loves.
Yeah.
And when she comes, she can either choose to stay with family or at a hotel. So that's having options, as Jermaine said. She was able to put her daughter through college. She is able to try new activities, visit different attractions in her community or near where she lives. But you would never look at her and traditionally regard her as wealthy, because she's very happy with her life and she has enough financial means to do the things that she wants to do, as well as to give to others if she wants to give to others. And we know everybody wants a rich auntie, right? So she's in a good position community
Yeah.
wise, right? So everybody, I think, has to define it for themselves, as you say. What, where do we want to really go with the wealth? Is it that we want to have the 20 shoes, or do we just want to have the 5 or 6 shoes and then focus on sharing our wealth with our community?
So there's
So
usually,
go ahead.
sorry, I was gonna say there's usually an arbitrary number that we have in our head that until we get there, we'll feel like we're not wealthy, no matter how we're able to live. So
The
if
one,
in
the
your
$1
mind,
million in the bank account.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So
Exactly.
it's this weird thing because I've seen that even with us, where there are seasons where we may be living a certain way, and then when we actually look at what we've been able to acquire, how we've been able to live, the options that we have, the abundance that we have in some cases, we are not limited in terms of a lot of the resources that we need on a daily basis. And yet it would appear that we're living as we did 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when our means were significantly different, because in our minds we need to have a certain number for us to be in that category of wealthy.
Yeah, and I think that is one of the most important things, and it's something that we teach often in our sessions, in our classes, our workshops, that your mindset is the first thing that you need to kind of reset when it comes to wealth, when it comes to money in general, because we have, as you mentioned earlier, this curated feed of what wealth looks like, right?
Yep.
It's, you're supposed to be in Dubai and you're supposed to be,
We see it all over the gram
exactly. You
and
you see
all over
all of the
TikTok.
lavish, the lavish things, but then is that truly wealth? Is it truly what you define as wealth, or is it just what society has told you is wealth, and so you are pursuing that? Because truly, for me, it is it's a Bible thing. I want that First Timothy 6 verse 17 to 19, wealth, where Paul is talking to Timothy, and he's saying, tell the rich people, tell them that their focus and their reliance is not on the money, it should be on God. They should be giving to others. They should be enjoying the life that God has given them and all that he has allowed them to have in this life. That's what I want. Let us enjoy the life that we have. Let us be able to help other people. Let us be able to be not necessarily be overt and lavish and flaunting and flossing, but so that auntie that you described, being able to put your
Yes.
children through school, being able to travel freely, and having no guilt and shame and burden of debt attached to that.
Yes.
Right? That's a huge thing.
Well, I'll throw in there though, Trisha, and this is interesting about money and wealth for all of us. I don't know the rich auntie who you described, but they are, what I've found at least, we have a perception as to what the rich and the wealthy worry about. We assume that they don't worry. We assume that they pay things and not complain about the price. We assume that they seamlessly flow between decisions, because they have so much in the bank, they don't have to, worry about it. That's not necessarily true. I'll just say that, right? Because I've heard persons with significant means, like almost billionaire net worth, complain that something costs $5,000 when they think it should cost $1,000. Right? So
That's so true.
it is something that
It's about value.
we just kind of assume that if we had the means of someone else, we would manage it differently. And so that is something that we may aspire to, again, not realizing that a lot of the things that we have conceived, we have been able to do and accomplish with, in some cases, very little effort. And it means then when we think about the billions of people in the world, because sometimes our wealth, on our perception of wealth, is kind of focused on this side of the world.
Yeah.
A lot of us are actually
in the 1%.
We have means that are greater than a majority of the world.
Yeah.
And it's a hard thing to think about, because you're like, well, I mean, I'm just making, let's say 150,000 per month. You're like, that's not a lot of money. That's $1,000 US. There are a lot of persons not living on $1,000 US per month with probably 2 or 3 children, and they're making it work. And sometimes you're like, well, I'm a single person and I can't make it work. I must be doing something wrong. But a lot of things come into play: where you live, how you spend, what you eat, what you value is going to determine how much it costs you to live each month.
Yeah. And I think that's so important for young adults to, from that first job, or when you're just starting to earn, determine where they want to go with their disposable income, with their wealth. What do they want to set up for themselves? So let's get practical. How can a young adult increase their financial gains in a steady, disciplined way, especially if they're starting from zero or a deficit? So let's say they hadn't been making good decisions when they just started earning, and they're in debt, whether it's the credit card or a loan to do something.
Yeah. So
how do they start?
I think we can start with a piece of our story, right? Because that's how we started, in debt.
Yeah.
But I'll back up a little bit before the debt. When I started working, came out of university, started working, and I got a good paying job, right? But for me, I was like, man, I've been waiting to start earning some money. So I'm earning money now. I'm going to spend that money.
That's right.
And so I was spending. I had no consideration or thought about, let me save. Thankfully, my employer at the time, they did have a mandatory savings. So savings were coming out of my salary before I even got it. So that was there. And I think I kind of took some consolation from that to say, all right, at least that is there. So I'm saving, right? And so that was there. But in terms of learning about investing, learning about financial management, that wasn't a priority for me because I was like, I've been waiting so long to actually, or rather, so long in my mind, right? So
Right.
long to
As in, you
actually.
don't have to depend on your parents to just dole it out little by little.
Exactly. So I'm like, boom, here we are. Let's spend money. And
Literally, that's how it is, Trisha.
yeah, man,
Literally.
I would just buy things for no reason. For
Really?
no reason.
Like you don't need it,
Liter
but it's just, oh, sale or,
it,
oh,
it
just because
No,
I
but
can.
not
remember,
even
it comes back to that same options and abundance.
exactly
So
because the excess was there. So I was like, oh, these dish towels look nice. Let me just buy them. Do I really use them? No. But I bought them anyway. I don't need them, but I bought them. So it turned out to be that for me. And then I had credit card and so I was using the credit card to buy
Mm,
everything and anything. And so that eventually led to debt because continuing to do that over time, you end up in a cycle of just spending more than you're earning eventually. And then you end up in this cycle of debt. Then when you want to actually pursue something more meaningful, like purchasing a home or planning your wedding, when you want to do the more meaningful things, you realize, oh, I don't have the funds to do this. So to get to the point of starting out, whether you're in negative or zero, first and foremost, I think you need to understand the importance of the little things that you do.
yeah.
So there are little things that can take you further away from your goal or closer to your goal. So set the goal. What is it? What do you want to ultimately accomplish? Do you want to have your own home? Do you want to eventually get married someday? Do you want to clear your student loan? Do you want to, I don't know, travel the world? Something, what is the goal or what are the goals? And start there. It might seem insurmountable now, like, boy, this is $500,000 or this student loan is X amount, how many millions of dollars, and it may seem insurmountable, but the little things that you do add up and it matters. So when you have the goal now, you can break it down to say, if I want to clear this debt in 5 years or in 3 years, how much do I need to put towards it each month? Right? If I
Yeah.
want to save towards a deposit for a home or a vehicle in 2 years, how much do I need to save each month or put towards it each month? And be intentional about actually putting funds towards those goals each month, not doing when everything else is spent or when it's done, I'll put it towards it if something is left over. You want to do that at the front end, but also be realistic about the goals, right? You cannot be in a position where you have $5,000 as disposable income, meaning that after all of your needs are taken care of, your food, your shelter, your bills are paid, etc., you only have $5,000 left, and you're going to tell yourself that you need to save $20,000 a month.
Mm,
That's not
mm,
going to be realistic, and you're going to end up just being disappointed and frustrated and depressed about it because you have set yourself up to fail. So you
yes.
have to be realistic about what your position is. Where are you now? What do you have available? How much time will it actually take for you to get there in a realistic way? Go through the other things as well. Can you trim your expenses? Are you doing what I used to do and said we just spend money? you know, are you spending frivolously? Are there areas that you can cut? Are there areas that you're maybe not watching what you're spending or you're not tracking how much you're spending in particular areas, and you should be tracking what you're spending? Do you need to start doing that to tighten up on those areas so that you can reclaim some of your funds? there are a lot of little things that we miss out, and those that I just mentioned are some of them. And if you start doing those little things and taking note of the little things, set your goal and start being intentional. Set aside one account and say, this is for this goal, right? This is
Yeah.
for my trip to Paris.
No,
And
or
you,
Kenya, which
or
in one
Kenya.
of our big people tips episode, we literally broke down the costs for you to travel to a place like Kenya or Machu Picchu. Kenya was about 700 and something thousand, and Machu Picchu was a quarter million. But I like the fact that you said it might look insurmountable at first,
Yeah.
but if you're diligent, you can get there.
Exactly. Break it down and to the bite-sized pieces where it will be like, okay, so if I need to do $10,000 a month, how can I make room for $10,000 in my budget from what I'm earning now? If you can't do it from what you're earning now, maybe you need to find an additional income stream. Maybe you can change your job. That's a possibility. It's an option that a lot of people don't actually think about when they think about, oh, I need to earn more money. You can change your job. It's okay.
Yeah.
You wanna add
Yeah.
anything? I'm sorry.
That was very
You, you,
comprehensive. I
you,
love that.
you,
So,
you were forewarned, Tricia. So I'll say nothing. I'll just say I think because the context that we're speaking about is somebody who's young, and in my
yes.
mind, I'm thinking of somebody who just finished university. And when you just finish university, probably the biggest challenge you have is really determining what you want to do with your life.
Yes.
And so it's going to be very hard for you to be thinking about setting goals when what's driving you crazy is, what am I supposed to be doing? Did I do the right degree or not? I did it because I was
Or
told to do it, but
or even if you did it and you're in a job, it's still okay. That was my academic side, which is
Yeah.
exactly,
from childhood. This is all I've known. Do well in academics, do well in, and I've done it, and now I'm finished. Okay, what
Yes.
about the rest of my
What's
life? What do
next?
I do?
exactly. So
What's
I think
next?
I think a person in that state isn't necessarily going to be able to set goals that are meaningful to them. And what I mean by that is, I think actually when you're at that stage, I think understanding certain aspects about how money works, I'd say start there. Don't even get, caught up in how much you have saved or what your grand goals are or anything like that. It's nice to know where you're headed, sure, but I
Yes.
find that self-awareness helps you a whole lot more, even if it takes you a longer time to get there. So I met with someone recently who, well, I'll probably share my story. I didn't ask permission to share theirs,
Yeah.
but I finished high school at 16, never went to university, could not afford it. It took me 10 years to get my degree, right?
Hmm.
That time that I felt like I lost gave me the opportunity to really understand who I am as a person, what I'm good at. I was able to get an identity outside of an education, because the education at that time would have
Mm.
probably pointed me in a direction that I would not have wanted to go, right? So I was able to determine who I am as a person, what I want to do, what I value. And then at a point where it would have been meaningful to me, I went to university. So I was able to, I think, make the most of that time. And I looked around when I was doing university and saw persons kind of going through the motions. They're doing the classes, they're going through it, but they don't really want to, they didn't
Yeah.
want to be there. They
Yeah.
were there because somebody else was paying for them to be there. I
Yeah.
had to, we had to pretty much work hard to pay the money, max out credit cards to go there. And so I understood the value of being there. So I think it was just different for me, right? So I'd
Yeah.
say if you start by understanding how money works, and I'll give you a simple example. If you are able to continue to have money left after you've spent on what you're spending on each month, and that keeps adding up, you don't have any major outflows, whether it be illness or any major expenditure, including buying a house or the other things that persons may pursue. Once you build up that saving to a certain amount, you want to start thinking about investing. You want to understand investing, because almost everyone we can think of who is the traditional definition of wealthy, it's either wealth that has been passed down to them, and
Yeah.
the person who built the wealth, it's some business, some venture, right? That's the persons who we normally attribute to wealthy. So it is some enterprise, some business that they've been able to build that generated so much revenue that they've spent everything they could spend, and yet they're still wealthy. And then they're able to now say, well, we have something. And I'm saying that because if you think about it, let's say that you are a talented engineer, and you spend your time instead understanding how money works, understanding what drives you, the kind of person you are, and you all the while diligently pursue the highest paying post you can find as an engineer, and then you go on a path to get that job. So let's say the highest paid engineer in your country makes $8 million per year, right? You're starting at maybe $1 million per year. If you understand the path to get there, and you get there maybe in 5 years, maybe in 8 years, by the time you're age 30, you're earning that now based on your means, assuming that they're modest. By the time you get to 40, you're able to now have so much of a difference between what you spend each month and what you actually earn. Then you start to be able to afford yourself options that we spoke about that relate to wealth. But I think that trying to kind of figure out goals a little too early may cause you to be doing the things, but you're not doing them for the right reason. And so you may not treat with them in the right way. And it's more impactful when somebody has intent in doing something rather than doing it because you're telling them to do it. It's not gonna translate in the same way.
I think there is value in both, though, because even though I didn't appreciate the mandatory savings that my company was doing for me, and I didn't fully understand how my pension worked, but I was still contributing to it, those are the things that eventually came back and helped us when we were getting married. It paid for our wedding, it paid for school for him for a little while. So those things, even though I didn't fully understand it, were still helpful because I got the guidance to, take advantage of those opportunities. So there's value in both.
So I think you've pretty much explained what underlying mindset young adults would need to have about wealth in order to accomplish it, in order to get to a place where they can be comfortable and have the options that they want to have in life. Are there any mindsets that they need to break out of that's perhaps blocking them from
Yes,
accomplishing wealth?
absolutely. I'm sorry, I got a little excited.
Like you were just waiting for this question, right?
Right now.
Yeah, you see,
Go
like the
ahead.
hand is on the side and everything right now. Like,
Okay, so this is Auntie Renee telling Uno better listen.
I'm already telling you now that the mindset that I think a lot of young people need to break early is the get rich quick. Is the I need it and I need it now,
me.
and there's
Yeah.
I can't wait, and if it takes too long, then I'm going to just find another thing. I'm going to drop this one and go do something else. It doesn't work. It
Yeah.
doesn't work that way. For you to build something and earn something, gain something that's meaningful, it's going to take time. It's going to take dedication. It's going to take pain. Right? The blood, sweat, and tears, they're going to come. And yes, sure, you see people on being TikTok famous, and you see people doing all of the influencer stuff, and you're like, oh, I'll just be an influencer. It's
But
not.
even that is a lot of work.
Exactly. It is
Yes.
work.
Yes.
It takes work to do those things and to get to the
time.
point where people will pay you for it.
Yes.
Exactly.
Work and
And
time.
lots
Work
of
and
time.
Yeah.
So it may look glamorous and it may look easy, but it's not. And that is the same for a lot of the other, even the traditional jobs that people see and say, oh, they make whole heap of money. You know, I'll go be a lawyer, I'll go be a doctor because these people make money. How many years do they have to go to school? Right? How much sacrifice do they have to make to get there? The people
Yeah.
who you're seeing on social media who are doing all the things and living the life that you think you want, what did they have to do to get there? And is that something that you are even willing to do? What did they have to give up? Are you willing to give it up? Because nothing comes for free.
Yeah.
Everything has a price, and are you able or willing to pay the price?
And when you were
So
speaking earlier about even just breaking down your goals and setting it and saying, okay, if I want to achieve this in 2 years, if you look at your current salary and it can't make it in 2 years, it's okay to say, all right, I'll
it's
try five
okay.
years, I'll try
Yes,
7 years. It's
exactly.
okay. It's okay. God's willing that
Exactly.
you live, it'll be fine. Just as good an experience then as before.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
first job paid $24,000 a month, so that should put in some context.
Yeah. And so I think I think when you start focusing on, and that's why the goals are important, right? What is it that you are pursuing? Because when you get caught up in what everybody else is doing, that's when you start going all over the place and you try to do what other people are doing versus doing what works for you and your plan and your
Hmm.
goals in life, you know? So if I know, like right now, debt free is where we want to be, right?
Yes.
So we sold a car, and people are there are persons who are like, why would you sell your car? You know, why didn't you just get a new one? Da 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 da. And I'm like, no, thank you. I don't want it because getting a new one means getting new debt. No, thank you. You
Yes.
know, and sure, it's a nice thing to do because when we know how it works, we know how to do it, we know how to get the loan from the bank to get a new vehicle every 3 to 5 years, and you cycle, so you're in a brand new car all the time. It's not necessary for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
You know, for us, it's not a need for us. What we need is cash flow. We need free cash every month, so we don't want to be paying loans every
Yeah.
month. No, thank you. So knowing that for us helps us to stay focused, regardless of all of the noise and the suggestions that come. It's like, all right, thanks, I hear you. But based on what I'm trying to accomplish right now, what we are trying to accomplish, we will go this route.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that's what I want young people to understand. Take the path that is taking you towards where you need to be, not the path that everybody else is telling you should go on.
Yeah. Which is how we were made in the first place for specific purposes. So
Exactly.
it's not to live like everybody else. It's to look at what are the things that satisfy us, what are the things that we like, and then setting our goals even around that. What are the things we are built for? How are we made to contribute to Earth while we're alive?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So thank you so much for that. What closing thoughts would you like to share with our students? You just bad them up about not running down the
I
get
did
rich
no such
quick
thing.
thing.
Renee did that, right?
But the two are one. The two
The
are
two
one.
are one.
So Jermaine just bad you up about the get rich quick schemes and putting aside that mindset and trying to figure out more about what you really want to do with your life. But what
Yeah.
other important thing would you like to leave with our audience before we wrap up today?
I'd probably say be patient. I think there are times when you can get very consumed with where you think you should be. That things have a way of, well, the things that usually take a little longer to be achieved usually are able to last a lot longer. So I would say just have that mindset and that discipline to be be level when things aren't going your way,
Yeah.
and focus on building a solid foundation that can last you um, for a longer term.
Yeah,
Good.
I think that's
All right.
a great note to close on.
Yes, it is. It is. So thanks again for sharing with our students, Jermaine and Renee.
It has been our pleasure.
Yep.
Now, for some people, wealth is being able to safely reach home after work, to sit and have a hearty dinner with a happy wife and healthy children. For others, it's frequent private jet flights to far flung corners of the world. Determine what satisfies you and be satisfied with working towards that. That's our encouragement for this episode. So, thank you for watching. And if you have any more questions, please drop them in the comments or email big.ppl.tings@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at big.ppl.tings. Please subscribe and share this link everywhere. It's our prayer that you found the show helpful, and we leave you with this quote. And it is a good thing to receive wealth from God and the good health to enjoy it, to enjoy your work and accept your lot in life. This is indeed a gift from God. Ecclesiastes 5:19, New Living Translation.